Facebook has changed their interface. I cannot see how many people we have on Facebook now. I think I have to watch their like Insights tab or something. That's always fun. But I do see Francis Wong, so welcome back, Francis. I can't, hopefully sometime soon we will actually get back to in-person events and we'll be able to all meet up at 1871 again. We're not quite there yet, unfortunately, but hopefully soon. And then beyond that, at this point, we'll see. I did want to talk to Bob. How's it going, Bob? This is going to be fun because we have PTC presenting today, who has presented previously, but the person presenting today I have not seen previously, so that'll make it fun. And we have Bob from Notify, so we actually, it's great that we actually get the, getting back to having a non-VR AR person on the panel to talk about the industry specifically, more so than talking about just, the technology, which would be great. It's something we always liked to have going on, but at least for a couple of panels, because they were very technology specific, we ended up having a lot of people that were very technology specific. If you are watching on Facebook, because I'm seeing the numbers jump up a little bit on Facebook, at least in the producer tab, please say hello. I'd love to have to know who's watching us. I did pin my standard, here's everything you should do if you're joining, and we will actually get the presentation started at 6:15. But beyond that, see, who else do we have? I also noticed that we got the invitation to this event out a little bit later than usual. Get a lot of responses to it. I think at this point it's summer, and a lot of, kind of like what Nick said. Hello, Orlando, welcome. Orlando is joining us on Facebook as well. I did notice also, it's summer and it's a nice day, and I assume a lot of people just want to get outside and be outside. I know I'd love to teach from outside, but I can't quite do this from out there. Jay has joined us. So where did Andrew go? Andrew's over there. There he is. Andrew, what exactly, what is your actual, I'm not going to jump forward on titles to see, what's your title with PTC?
I'm a senior AR field engineer.
Senior AR field engineer. Excellent. And are you, what kind of, I guess, what area do you cover?
So it's mostly augmented reality. So I'm like a subject matter expert for the Vuforia suite of products at PTC.
Right, but do you have is there a region that you cover, or are you just pretty much all over the place?
Oh, I wish I would have. International, really.
International, wow.
Yeah.
Large region.
Yeah.
It's a big region. I try to stay away from Australia if I can.
Why? Why would you try? I would love to go to Australia.
No, just in terms of the calls. They start at the end of the day.
Okay.
Yeah, time zone coordination.
So, hey, Ben, what's new with you?
Not too much, really. I mean, just work, looking for work, nothing crazy.
Oh.
Actually, I might have some work I'm doing for Josh Farkas coming through. He reached out to me last week, so I might be doing some stuff for him.
Oh. Good.
Hello, Tony.
Hello, Matthew.Wren.
How's it going?
Oh, not bad. I'm here early, and I can't turn in my chair. Life is so unfair.
You press the space bar.
Ooh, to
So when you sit
turn
down,
in the chair?
well, when you press the space bar, I was going to say, I guess the chair doesn't really turn around, but if you're sitting, you can press the space bar and look around at least.
I'm only in Verbella for your meeting, so I only get to practice this once a month, or every other month.
Makes it a little
There
more
we are.
difficult.
You should have them do a swivel chair command.
Yeah. Okay. So who's in Verbella from here? Is it Travis?
There we go.
Travis our Verbella guy? Yeah, Travis is.
Thank
New
you.
feature request. The swivel chairs have to swivel.
Chair swivel. Got it. Thank you.
I'm sure there are things further ahead on the line of importance.
good to have a multitude of roadmaps for the different features.
I guess the problem is if I'm sitting, for example, if I get up and I'm sitting here in this one, and I want to see people behind me, it gets a little harder.
It's a little tricky. There's also the screen zoom tab at the top, which will help you focus directly on individual screens on the stage, for example.
No, I want to get a good look at Ben over there. Ben, where are you? Yeah. Okay. But yeah, small deal.
Yeah, if you do the screen zoom too, we lose the whole Exorcist head spinning thing, which I think is, it's a big feature.
Oh, here, let me see if I can do it. So if I have to screen zoom like this, am I exorcisting right now or no?
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
Excellent.
Oh,
Nice.
that was happening. I thought my whole torso was turning, like at my spine.
No, just at the neck.
That's the option I really want for all of these VR platforms, is something to show me what I look like when I'm doing things.
Well, you can do the view yourself. You can just click on the if you hit on yourself in the menu, there's the view avatar, and you'll see yourself kind of from the front view.
Stand up first.
So they do have that.
Where is that? A lot of them don't show me from the side though, and I want to see me from the side.
Oh, I don't know if it'll show you from the side. It'll
Yeah.
definitely show you from the front. Hello, Nicola.
Yeah.
Just a very
Well, it's
flexible
nice
neck.
to
He says yes,
see
you have
back.
a very flexible neck. That's what you're stuck with.
Yeah, at least I can see the back of my head in Verbella. This is nice.
Awesome. Well, once again, we'll get started in about 5 minutes. We're seeing people slowly file in. I'm wondering if more and more people are joining. I'm guessing that my counts are the numbers that I'm actually seeing in terms of like the number of people in campus and the number of people in the conference room are clearly inaccurate at this point. So I'm wondering what happened there. But that's hey, Anya. Well, thanks. I guess Anya is not going to be able to join us in Verbella today, but she is watching us on Facebook. She's actually one of the regular people who comes in almost every month. But welcome anyway. We feel free to ask questions or comment on Facebook. Because, that's one of the things, it's funny, this is one of those things that we keep talking about. Honestly, I'll probably bring it up a little bit during the event. Just like, we're all eager to get back to things live and in person, and we're all kind of getting teased now about the fact, like, oh yeah, we're going to get live in person in a month or 2 or 3, or, maybe sometime it's really coming, and then with the Delta variant, it's like, no, maybe not. So we're all just kind of going to wait and see. Obviously safety is the biggest priority, but gosh, it would be nice to get back to in person.
So it'll be a month or 2 or 3 or 12.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that
Exactly.
Gus will figure it out by next year at the latest.
Whoops.
We were really hoping to say September, honestly, but now we're like, you know what? It's definitely not going to be September. Maybe October if things get figured out, and if not October, it probably won't be until January, honestly. But again, we're going to play it by ear and see what happens.
Yep.
So we've got about 5 minutes till we get started. And then I will go over our standard procedures and rules and all that stuff, and I'll change the seating, and you know how it all goes.
We're gonna start the in-person just in time for snowstorm season in Chicago.
Yeah, exactly. We had
I'll take the train. So
Just offer Coco. I'll be there.
one of our more fun events we had was in December of, I don't know if it was December 2018 or December 2019. I kind of lose track of time at this point. Well, it was probably 2018 because we weren't at 1871 yet. But we had an event at the company Next Now, the company out on the West Lake Street. And it was funny because it was a popular enough event that it was like we had, I want to say 125 to 150 registered for it. And it was at the point where I was talking to them like, okay, your room can pretty much handle 75 to 80. And, we've got 150, like for some reason it was, I remember the topic was live events and they had like 150 people register for it. And we're sitting there like, okay, we're way over capacity for your room right now. Trying to figure out what do we do? Like, can we put people into the office space in the next room and just have an overflow video, or what are we going to do there? And then that snowstorm hit the exact like that day, and we ended up having like 35 people show up. 35 people still actually trucked through it and made it, but I mean, it was one of those snowstorms that actually shut down the city. like literally nobody was coming in. So it was kind of neat because we actually still had, even with that snowstorm happening that had, pretty much shut down the streets in the city of Chicago, we still had 35 people show up for the event. But definitely solved our problem with worrying about being over capacity. That was one of the ones that convinced us. It's like, okay, we need to make sure that we have a room that can handle 100 plus people every time.
Yeah, that was probably the event before we met, because I know I went to like my first AR VR event in like January of 2019. I want to say.
I'm trying to remember when we actually moved into 1871. Like, I know we had been talking to them. Like the actual first event we hosted was at 1871, but then we moved around a lot for, I want to say, about a year. And I'm not sure exactly when we started at 1871 and like kind of never went anywhere else again.
I want to say it was like February or March of 2019, because it was around the time, like I said, I first started coming to the VR AR events. And I want to say like the first maybe 2 events I went to were not in 1871, but then we went to 1871 and never really went elsewhere.
Gotcha. Hello, Aaron.
Hey,
Also,
everybody.
I saw Jay.
How we doing?
Good. I saw Jay pop in here. I haven't heard him yet, but I know I saw him pop in.
Yeah, I know I saw him too.
All right.
Nicola is telling us how convenient it was for him to go at 1871 because he basically had to jump in the elevator and take a few floors down.
Yeah, I live in Franklin Park, so it's definitely a long hike.
You live in Franklin Park.
Yeah.
And you're probably
Right
10
down
minutes
by
away
airport.
from me.
Oh, well, we could have a local meeting.
Yep, I'm in North Riverside right now.
Oh, okay. That's where I got my vaccine shot. I remember those 3 hours well as I walked randomly. Sorry.
That's okay. So, Chris, I'll point this out to you now, Chris, just so you're aware. Francis on Facebook has said, even when we do go back to in person, we can't ignore this virtual because the virtual expands the audience for all the sorts of people who can't make it. And I'll answer you now, Francis. We will never not do virtual. We will always be live streaming and potentially doing some sort of virtual component. That's one thing we've kind of found across the entire industry is that is not going away. But at this point, we're at 6:15, so I'm just gonna get us started. So a little bit small audience, but I'm gonna add the seating in the room for lecture seating. I believe is the one that we usually add. So those of you who are in the audience can join the audience, and Bob and Andrew, you guys can take a seat, and I'll call you guys up in a few moments. But for those of you who are joining us on Facebook, as well as those of you who are joining us in the live Rebella space, and for those who come in, as we're going, welcome. Thank you once again for joining VR Air Chicago. Everybody gets a couch, is what Nicola said. It's kind of funny. And honestly, that's a great example. And what we'll start with, we do have a Facebook Live audience. We are streaming again, if it's not already obvious to everyone who's in the room. We are streaming to Facebook Live, and we do interact with the people on Facebook Live. So if they write stuff in the comments, we will generally read them in the rooms, particularly when we get to the Q&A session. I'm actually not even going to bother asking the question of who's been here before and who hasn't. Oh, I take that back. We just had someone join in who may not have been here before. So I do like to actually, I'll test this now just for if you've been to this event before, please raise your hand by pressing the button that says raise hand at the bottom center of your screen. Excellent. You guys can put your hands down. And for those of you who have not been to one of these events before, please raise your hand now. I think I saw everybody's name go up at some point. Excellent. The reason I do that is because when we get to the Q&A portion, that will be how we do the Q&A. I will be looking for raised hands. When we do get to Q&A, I will suggest please raise your hand and keep it raised until I call on you to ask your question, because I do see the names appear in the order in which the hands were raised. So if you put your hand down while someone else is asking a question or while the people are answering a question that's been up, that is ultimately we won't see you. Basically, you'll be back in the bottom, back of the line. But with that, today we are talking about manufacturing. For those, again, I know most of you have been here before, but for those who are going to watch the video stream later, or for those who have not been here before, we have a panel of experts. We have 2 people who are joining us today, so they're going to get a little bit longer to talk. We have pardon me, Andrew from PTC, and we have Bob from Notify, which is basically our one VR AR, mostly AR expert, particularly with Vuforia, who serves the manufacturing industry. And then we have somebody from the manufacturing industry who is not necessarily a VR AR expert, but they can definitely talk about the manufacturing industry in general and ways that they could see potentially VR and AR solving problems there. My name is Matt Wren. For those again who haven't been here, we normally, we are going on 4.5 years of hosting this event at this point. We have not missed a monthly, I don't think, first year. And so beyond that, we normally host the event in person at 1871. When we can get past this lovely pandemic, we'll get back to that. But in the meantime, I would like to thank our sponsors who make it possible for us to have this event. And with that, I will start on the side screens with our first sponsor, Bundle AR. Bundle AR, full disclosure, it is the company that I work for full time. But with that said, I did want to point out that our normal representative, Lauren from Bundle AR, could not make it here today. So she will be, she has asked me to play the video, which I will do right now. So just be aware that volume could be loud on this when the video plays.
Until now, creating augmented reality was hard. IT departments simply do not have the expertise, so they rely on expensive developers and one-off solutions. Introducing Bundle AR's augmented reality platform. Bundle AR's revolutionary, self-serve augmented reality content management system allows anyone, anywhere, to easily create, edit, and deploy augmented reality to Apple and Google devices instantly and on a global scale. Now is the time to add on-demand, accurate, and trusted digital information to your communications through a tool nearly everybody already has, their smartphone. Perfect for just-in-time immersive training, learning, and development programs. Easily place multimedia content like videos or interactive 3D models on real-world items like signage, brochures, or packaging to enhance your audience's understanding of your product, procedures, or story. No special equipment or coding skills necessary. It's augmented reality made easy. Visit bundlear.com now to get started.
All right, that was Bundle AR. 1871, who I've just been speaking about. Again, most of you are relatively familiar with 1871. That is the location, that is Chicago's technology incubator. They have a lot of programs that help companies get started or get scaled. Again, for those of you who are not familiar with it, please check them out at 1871.com. They are a great partner of ours. We're working closely with them on a lot of things, and we have a lot of really cool things that we can announce. Hopefully next month, maybe, Chris, or the month after. I'm not sure exactly when, but there's a lot of things happening there. That are very exciting, and we're looking forward to getting back to in person, at which point we will be back at 1871. But also, they're much like everybody else in the world. They are looking to solve for when we need to be remote. So that's 1871, and I heard that Cam is going to be here for Verbella. Are you in the room, Cam?
Hey everyone, just jumped in a few minutes late. Matt, thanks for having me. Chris and Tom, and really excited to be here and join the session today. And thanks for putting this together. I'm Campbell, Delegate Partner Manager for Bella, and these guys, VR AR Chicago, have a lot of experience running these types of unique virtual event experiences and engagements. So thrilled for the opportunity to partner and sponsor these engagements. Happy to be a resource. If anyone has any questions, I'll drop my email in the chat below.
All right, thank you, Cam. Again, Verbella is, obviously the space that we are in right now. That's where VR AR Chicago has our actual office. We don't have a physical office anywhere. We started during the pandemic, so our office is 100% virtual. We have an office space at Verbella in the team suites. But with that, I'd love to, give a shout out to our partners. So there's a number of people who help to share our events, and we kind of work closely with a bunch of groups to cross promote and make sure that we all have access to the people that we need to run events. So XR Women, IGDA, the Independent Game Developers Association of Chicago, 2112, and VR Motion Learning. Again, thanks again for all the cross promotion that we do. But with that, let's get to our topic for the night. And again, this, the event tonight is going to be a little bit different because we have a smaller panel. So each of the people are going to get a little bit more time to talk on their topic. And let me start first. What we're talking about, again, the topic for the evening is manufacturing. Manufacturing has been one of the quickest and one of the earliest adopters of immersive technology. We heard years ago about how the manufacturing industry had been, with like Toyota and Boeing adopting HoloLens pretty much the moment it was released. Manufacturing was using Google Glass very heavily, earlier iterations of augmented reality as well. So it's an industry that's definitely found a lot of use from the technology. But with that, I'm just gonna, not talk too much about it until we get to the Q&A sessions, and I'm going to let Bob talk about Notify and what you guys do and speak to the industry a little bit more, probably provide a lot more information than I could. Where's Bob? Bob, do you want to come and join me where I am right now? And the other thing I will do for the live stream folks is I will pop the slides up into a picture-in-picture so they'll be able to see them a little more clearly. All right, Bob, take it away. Let me know when you need slides or videos.
All right, thank you. You can go to the first slide. And so everyone, I really appreciate you having me here, and I'm really happy to be able to talk to you about Notify and some things about the manufacturing space. So as said, I'm Bob Wise, and I'm the founder and CEO of Notify. And prior to starting Notify, I was in the unified communications and collaboration space. I mean, our company had one of the first evolutions of products like this. I mean, it certainly was a division that was not, the top at that time, because it was many years ago, but we were very focused on anything related to collaboration and web conferencing, video conferencing, and of course, audio conferencing. So that whole collaboration and working together with people working together and people being able to be more productive, efficient, accountable is a big part of what I've done in my past, and also creating software that was very, very easy to use. And I think that's a key for this market, because I think one of the things that's important to understand in manufacturing is, and you can go to the next slide, is that manufacturing space, I mean, you can talk about, robotics and, an industry 4.0 and everything that's going on in automation. But the key to understanding this space is that, over 90% of these companies are under 100 people. And so that's a really important part, because again, you read and hear about so many companies, in manufacturing, large, some of the mid-market and large enterprise companies and everything that they're doing. But you have to realize that this space is just filled with a lot of small guys that are part of all of those companies' supply chain. And those companies, like many other companies, are, sometimes the budgets are tough. I mean, they're all very busy. They're down on people. That is a big problem going on in the space right now. And so, they're searching for solutions that can really fit their needs, their budgets, help them get into a form of digital transformation without necessarily, at least at this time, making some of those investments into some of the areas of smart factory and robotics and VR AR, I think is a way for them to get into that, because you can get into it, for not huge budgets, and we're looking at doing some integrations into that space as well. So industry 4.0 in manufacturing is really key to that, key towards the digital transformation in that space. And the key for Notify is really what is at the bottom there, on the far in the right-hand corner, the integration of software, machines, and people. And that's our focus. And so Notify is a SaaS-based platform that digitizes jobs and standard operating procedures and gets rid of paper. We're inserting people into those jobs and the processes, allowing them to get information, work, complete forms, collaborate, all inside the jobs and the processes they are working on. Go to the next slide. And so similar to my background in terms of collaboration, it is collaboration and efficiency, productivity, but inside the jobs and inside the work that they're doing. And I'm going to show you that. So this is really a lot of what's going on today in almost every company. I mean, you could walk in on a shop floor, look at a desk, look at a table near a machine, and you're going to see excessive use of paper. Next slide. And they use these documents. These documents are job travelers, or some people call them job orders, where data is accumulated. It's the order of what they're building, which workstations that order is going to flow from. It's where data gets accumulated. This is an actual one. You can sort of see that, you know, half of it is unreadable. Sometimes it's not filled out. People are working fast. Some are less trained and less experienced than others. And so not everything gets put on these pieces of paper that need to be. And then when they're done, they're often stored in a file and sometimes, you know, never to be seen again. And obviously, if they're on paper, the data can't be accumulated, it can't be mined. It's very difficult to look up, very difficult to understand everything that's gone on from, you know, what people did and how long they took. Next slide. So we're taking these procedures. This is just an example of, you know, standard operating procedures that would be on paper, for example, that somebody is supposed to follow. And they're supposed to follow and check off that they did things and potentially initial things and maybe even put down data. But oftentimes you don't know for sure that they did it. You want them to follow the standard operating procedures, and other than an initial, there's no real understanding of what they did and whether they follow them. There's nothing stopping them from going to the next process or the next task when something is down on paper. Next slide. So other than setting up the users and the different work areas, you would in Notify, you would take those standard operating procedures and you would establish, you would enter them into Notify. And you would establish your jobs and processes, or we can pull them through an integration from the ERP. So we either pull them from the ERP, we can upload them, upload documents in, and then you can go in and, you know, make the changes and do the things that you need. We help you create, you know, the software can help you create templates, so you don't always have to redo everything. You can pull from templates as well. So you create your jobs and processes inside Notify. Next slide. Can upload any content that workers might need to see. Could be, you know, instructions on where to find things, where certain things are, how to do something. Could be pictures or videos that you want a worker to reference or use to complete their work. So they don't have to, in a typical situation today, they don't have to leave their workstation, go potentially look up something in a manual, or go find somebody that is a subject matter expert that knows something. They can look that up inside the jobs and processes that they're accessing through Notify. Next slide. And so the workers, you know, they work from their dashboard, and as I said, they're living inside these jobs and tasks that come to them. So this would be a worker's dashboard, and they've got the different tasks that are allocated to the different jobs that they're expected to follow, and they would they, I didn't have the liberty of showing you everything, but they would click in those tasks, and they would follow the standard operating procedures or any of the instructions that they were expected to follow that might be on a piece of paper. However, they have to input that data because they can't move forward and can't finish the task or the job until everything is uploaded and saved and put into the system. Slide. And we work with any mobile device. So realistically, they're likely using tablets on the shop floor because most places don't allow, non-supervisors to have a mobile phone. Sometimes it could be a Chromebook, or sometimes they've got laptops, on tables and stuff that they're using. But oftentimes we've affixed tablets to machines or have tablets, on tables and things like that. Next slide. And as I said, they live inside the Notify software and live inside the jobs and the tasks they're responsible for. So everything they do is timed, saved, and automatically captured. They can also message out to people. So it's that whole collaboration piece. They don't have to leave their workstation. They can message out to an individual, a team, a division, whatever was set up in the system to as users or groups of users, they can message out to, and the person's going to know, where it came, who it came from, the exact location or workstation that they're in, and because that's captured, and they can get the information that they need. Next slide. Or they can send out alerts for immediate response. So if there was an emergency or if they needed materials, they're not necessarily having to message back and forth with someone. They just want to alert somebody that they need something. And so these can be pre-configured and pre-configure where the alerts would go. If somebody sent out a quick emergency alert, so they don't have to keep typing, they just a one-click alert, it would show the person or groups of people who are supposed to get that, who sent it out and what location they're in. And they can do the same thing for needs materials or needs information. Depending on how you set it, it would stop the clock and sort of, be able to stop the job in process. So if it's an emergency, it would probably stop the clock of what Notify is doing and stop the job. But other things can sort of just let people know you have an alert, but it doesn't stop anything. And then through integration, we can also, not only stop the job inside Notify, but we could actually also stop machines and other things from running based on a certain alert that would be sent out. And typically, obviously, that's usually an emergency alert. Slide, please. So Notify is then able to capture that data of everything that happened on the job and the individual task of the job, and whatever data the worker was asked to capture. They can capture numbers, they can capture measurements, they could capture pictures and video certain things and send that on. Everything is timed, so you can see where there are areas for improvement or specific workers improvement, where there might be opportunities to cut costs, and really understand what went into and how long a job actually takes. Today, without Notify in a paper-based world, time accumulates in between those workstations. Somebody might be complete with the work on a job from a workstation, it gets sent to the next workstation, but what's not captured is the time that sat in between those workstations. So you really don't have a full understanding of how long a job takes, and thus how long a job really costs. And so Notify, using that as an example, captures all of that, and all that waiting time is captured, approvals are captured, and a lot more. This creates a tremendous amount of worker accountability, reduces mistakes, improves safety because you can put safety and maintenance checklists in here that people are expected to follow and sign off each day, and really increases productivity. So I'd like to, you can go to the next slide, but I'd like to show you a quick 2-minute video on our solution and go from there. Thank you.
The workplace is filled with paper forms, binders, manuals, and dozens of other cluttering components. Keeping these things working for you instead of against you is a battle that piles up over time. Now's the time to cut the clutter with Notify. Notify is an automated, cloud-based, connected worker, collaboration, and process management solution that helps manufacturers and fabricators ensure that their employees are more productive while increasing quality and improving overall safety. With Notify, Debbie, the manager, is able to use the Digital Job Traveler application and create real-time task lists for the workers on the shop floor. From her office, she can send information regarding a project as well as track important content within the workflow. This gives Debbie confidence that her employees are performing their work safely and efficiently. Bob, a floor operator, can complete his tasks, review comments he made or other workers have left, and organize messages all without leaving his machine. Having access to digital multimedia content inside the tasks has made Bob safer, more productive, and confident that he is correctly following the processes, even if he has forgotten aspects of his training. Now, let's say Bob is in need of assistance. Jim, along with the rest of the material handling team, will get Bob's alert. Since Jim is constantly managing the warehouse and over a dozen employees as team lead, he has the capability to check on specific workstations. If a machine is no longer in production, Jim can see which specific user and potential issue may be part of the problem. While the plant is producing as one cohesive unit, from the shop floor to the top floor, Notify is compiling human activity analytics and other data points to reveal operational blind spots, decrease costs, and improve overall productivity. That knowledge is then securely stored in Notify's cloud, where it can be easily accessed for reporting, compliance, or to just make more intelligent business decisions. Designated people can also get alerts as that data occurs in real time. So, ditch the stacks of paper, binders, and cabinets of paper forms, and put the power of improved efficiency, quality, safety, and productivity in the palm of your hand. The future of manufacturing is here. Notify. Work safe. Work smart. Work better.
All right, well, thank you very much, and forward to any questions or anything you might have.
Thank you, Bob. We will get to the Q&A as soon as our next presenter is done. Thank you for presenting. It was a great video. I was really surprised. You know, it's funny, like after you said it, it makes complete sense that the majority of manufacturers are actually smaller, you know, less than 100 employees, but it's one of those things that kind of, again, as somebody who's, you know, whenever I deal with manufacturing companies in our, you know, from Bundle AR's standpoint, we're generally dealing with very large companies, you know, multiple divisions across multiple countries and huge numbers of workers. We don't really think about the fact that there's less than 100 employees at the majority of manufacturers. But up next, we have Andrew from PTC. And I'll say we've done manufacturing as a topic at this event several years, and we always like to have PTC here because they're really, you know, honestly, PTC is almost it's almost like you guys are actually bigger in manufacturing than you are in augmented virtual reality, even though you do have one of the leading augmented reality products on the market. But I did want to, you know, we love having PTC here. So Andrew, if you want to join me where I am, because right now I can tell you that in the camera view, you are actually behind the picture-in-picture. But okay, there we go. Now I know we can see you, and I will let you go from here. And I know you got a lot of videos, so just let me know which one you need and when.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me here. It's good to be here. And so, yeah, I'm just going to be describing kind of PTC's AR solution suite and how it applies to manufacturing. We've got a couple products that are like specifically geared towards manufacturing, and we've got a couple new products that I'm going to show off that are really exciting that I think will be relevant as well. So if we could hit our first slide, and then I should have had that up while I was saying all that. If we could hit our second slide. I'll give you a quick intro to myself. So I actually moved out to Chicago in like 2010. I thought I was going to be a funny guy. So I went to Second City and Annoyance Theater and Improv Olympic and did the whole stand-up and sketch thing, thanks to a very patient wife. I realized that was maybe not the way to go. And in 2014, I moved back to Kansas City and started a Kansas City VR meetup group. And at that point, I started developing with Unity and Unreal. And I got my first start in an e-government company called NIC, where I was working R&D, and I used A-Frame and Three.js to put together a web VR tour of a state capitol building for Wisconsin. And then from there, I worked at a smaller agency where we started focusing on healthcare and using AR and VR for training. And I was lucky enough to join PTC in October of 2019. So I've been here for almost 2 years now, and it's been really awesome. So yeah, we can go to the next slide. So why do we see AR being beneficial and providing value for manufacturing and many industrial use cases? On top of that is that, there's greater market pressure, honestly, from what you could see from Bob's presentation as well. Like, products are getting more complex, and the processes involved therein are also growing more complex. Match that with an aging worker force and customers that are more demanding, and the game needs to be upped across the board. And exactly like Bob was saying, we see this all the time as well. You'd be surprised how many companies out there are operating off of paper-based methods, right? They've got SOP, it's someone sitting in Microsoft Word for 3 to 8 hours, and they're grabbing pictures and images, and they're writing out documentation and grabbing schematics and putting it in a book somewhere. And that just doesn't scale. There's a lot of time they're authoring. The absorption of those materials is not as good as it could be. And so that's where we enter the picture with some of our augmented reality suite. Over here, you can see this image of somebody who's using model tracking on a Magnemotion manufacturing equipment. And that's some real-time IoT data that's being piped in. And so you can understand that being able to hold an iPad up, recognize the equipment in front of you and apply things to it is so much more immersive, and it's so much more engaging to learn from than paper-based materials. So next slide. This was the slide I should have been showing when I was saying all those words previously. But yeah, so we've got paper-based manuals, and this is the iPad that you should have been able to see, my bad. With the IoT data being piped in, you can see we're showing the track animations on top of it. Something nice about Studio is you can give it CAD, you can feed it 3D models and understand physically what's in front of you, so you can start augmenting actual equipment. Next slide. So, we're pretty much augmenting the frontline workforce. Our CEO, Jim Heppelman, he's got a great saying that augmented reality turns bits and bytes into sounds and sights, right? It's kind of like a analog modem for your head. And by empowering the frontline worker with the knowledge that they need when they need it, the kind of just-in-time training that we've been hearing, you can really start to gain benefits because there's better first-time fix rates, or there's less errors out the door. So next slide. What that looks like is you have your augmented worker, right? This gentleman here has a HoloLens 2 on, and there's a few different things that are going on here, right? This would be a studio experience that's connected via ThingWorx to IoT. And so in this instance, we've got some HMI going up where they can actually start or stop equipment through the interface. They can get valuable metrics from the devices in real time. And a lot of this stuff can be set up very easily with a low-code solution called Vuforia Studio we'll talk about here. So next slide. Some of the main use cases that we're always seeing across the board, and easy places to start for manufacturing, are remote assistance and collaboration, right? The ability to jump on a call and have two people understand the same physical space. AR work instructions, right? So knowledge-based AR work instructions, you'll see a sample of that with expert capture. It's a way to have a subject matter expert capture what they're doing in real time from their own perspective to be used as operating procedure later, and we leverage AR to do that. We've got CAD-based AR work instructions. That's where you can show, the CAD being disassembled, or you use the CAD to target experiences. And then, less so for this target group really is like product visualizations and demonstrations, but that can be big too. Okay, so next slide, please. This is our suite as of today. And so on the left, we've got more of our solution centrics. These are the products that you would just kind of pull off the shelf and start using, and you could realize value with them pretty quickly. And the first one's Chalk. We're going to go through all of these, but on the right side, we have the platform type tools, which are more development type tools. You would build experiences yourself with them, and we'll go into this too. I stopped myself from just starting to talk about Chalk. So next slide. So Chalk is our real-time remote collaboration tool. It supports Android, iOS, RealWare, and desktop. It supports up to 5 users at the same time. And what it does is it allows you to place real augmentations, augmentations that are anchored in the real world, I mean. So as you move your camera around, we're using like a visual inertial odometry and a simultaneous localization and mapping technique. It's really what powers Engine and Studio and Instruct, right? And we're using that under the hood so that within a few seconds of opening up the app, we've learned the environment, and you can start making those annotations, and they're anchored there. So as you move away, there'd be arrows showing you that there's some content off to the side of the screen. And so I do have a video for this one, Matt. If we could jump to it, it would be the Chalk video. And in theory, we're playing it, so it's muted, but I'm not sure how to work, so it might be.
I won't be able to mute, so we will hear the audio.
Sounds good. I'll just be quiet.
Vuforia Chalk is a simple, powerful remote assistance and collaboration application for experts to provide real-time guidance to technicians facing complex or unfamiliar challenges. With the introduction of multi-expert sessions, frontline workers can now communicate with multiple experts at the same time. Multi-expert sessions enables up to 5 participants to join a Chalk call, making it easier for frontline workers to connect with multiple layers of expertise help as they troubleshoot issues in the field or factory. To start, the local technician will generate a connect code to host a Chalk session and communicate with the remote expert who is using Chalk's web-based desktop mode. Using Vuforia's computer vision technology, the field technician will create a 3D map of their environment that will allow the digital annotations to stick to the objects shown in the physical world. The remote expert is familiar with the setup that the technician is facing and can help identify the root cause of the issue by drawing annotations onto the technician's view of the environment. However, this first expert is now also stuck and needs to bring in another level of support.
Awesome. Thanks, man. I think you guys get it, right? We don't need to spend the whole 2 minutes on that video, right? So yeah, that's Chalk, real-time remote assistance, multi-platform. And yeah, we actually just updated it a couple months ago with that 5-person user limit, which is pretty cool. The next one's expert capture. And I really describe this one as leveraging augmented reality to leverage video-based training. It supports 2 different headsets to do the capture side. But what happens is you have your subject matter expert, and they do their job like they would any other time, except they're wearing a RealWare headset or a HoloLens, and they're running this application from us called Capture. And it's just recording the whole time. And as they do their job, they're saying things like next step or take photo, and you see it from their perspective, and it's recording. And then when that is done, you can upload it to our SaaS-based editor where you can refine the video segments of it. You can annotate images. You can even like merge clips. I mean, it's not like Final Cut Pro or anything, but that's not the idea, right? These are for big organizations, and this is to scale knowledge. So we don't want to be something that's kind of hard to approach. The idea is anybody could jump into it and be authoring valuable content pretty quickly. And that's why, this is still part of the solution-centric suite. So Matt, feel free to play the expert capture video, but like, I know you can't jump around them in the video, but if you just want to like play a portion of it so I don't burn so much time,
No worries. Again, there's only 2 presenters today, so we have a little bit more time.
Okay, sounds good. But Instruct is really the one I'm excited about to show off tonight for manufacturing specifically.
Wearing digital eyewear, Vuforia Expert Capture allows an expert worker to capture first-person, step-by-step instructions hands-free while they work. These captured instructions are then edited and published to create augmented reality work instructions and training experience for less experienced workers, thus making the best practice of the expert the standard practice of everyone.
Oh, okay, that was super quick. Nice. I didn't realize. Okay, and now I understand why there's no background audio on it. So yeah, that's expert capture, right? It's kind of, again, leveraging AR to leverage video-based training. You can consume the procedures on any device, an iPad, desktop, or HoloLens or RealWear as well from the Vuforia View app, or Vantage, the Vuforia Vantage app as well. But yeah, the reason it still is augmented reality is on the HoloLens, you can use spatial anchors. So you can actually have part of your procedures that are being captured by the expert. They can place spatial anchors around in the environment. And if you're consuming those procedures on a HoloLens as well, then it will take you to those waypoints. Okay, so now the one I was really excited about, it's very new. We really only launched it like a month or two ago. Next slide is Vuforia Instruct. And this is really right now mainly meant for inspection. So in manufacturing, after assembly, at the end of line inspection, to be more precise. And Instruct is a new breed of product for us because it's absolutely no code at all, but you get to leverage model tracking and you get to leverage the AR side of this. So it's a lot more approachable. You don't have to have a resource that's a developer on staff or use third-party services to build things. You literally just have to have CAD and then the equipment in front of you. And so how this works is it's the same editor that you've seen from Expert Capture, or well, you haven't seen it, but it's part of Expert Capture. And in that editor, you can just upload geometry as well as images and videos now. So then while you're building this inspection procedure, you have your geometry and you can tumble it around in a viewer on the web, and you can place waypoints on your geometry per step of this procedure. And the really cool part is the analytics, right? It's like Bob was saying, so much of this is like awareness of execution and quality while you're doing the role. And so this system actually has an analytics system called Insights on the back end. So as you have workers who are logged in, they're named users, going through their inspection procedures, the steps are able to pass or fail or confirm and provide feedback. And those will all go to this analytics platform called Insights that then you can use that data on your own for your own operational improvements and efficiencies, right? So that's enough talking about it. To show you in action, yeah, go ahead and please play that Instruct video, Matt.
Vuforia Instruct makes visual inspections a lot more visual, a lot more intuitive, and a lot more accurate. Instruct is the fastest and easiest way to author and scale CAD-based work instructions for frontline workers. Inspection procedures are anchored to the physical product, eliminating the need for guesswork or interpretation. AR visual guidance clearly communicates what's wrong or right in the easiest, most accurate way. The results of every procedure can be captured and tracked for audit and compliance purposes, and leveraged by key stakeholders for corrective action and process improvement.
And it's, again, just so cool because as long as you have the CAD and the CAD represents what the equipment is, you really just throw it into the browser. And then we've got this automated pipeline that converts it to a model target. And so immediately you get a standard model target, which, if you're a developer for Vuforia Engine, you know that there's different types of model targets. So the first is the standard model target. It's very easy and quick to make. And so immediately when you upload your CAD, you get that. And then we start converting it to an advanced 360-degree model target, So within about 20, 30 minutes of creating the procedure, you have this advanced model target, so you can approach the equipment from any angle. So because of the tracking and because of the physical awareness of the equipment in front of you, I feel like this is a game changer, specifically for inspection right now, but the roadmap ahead is really cool in terms of what it's going to enable for this product. Right now we're talking about one state of the equipment as you're going through this inspection, but you can imagine the benefits of that changing. So yeah, that's Vuforia Instruct. It's very, very, it's our hope that will benefit manufacturing the way some of our other products have. So then next is Vuforia Studio. So Matt, you can go to the next slide, please. And Vuforia Studio is more of our platform centric. So this is more of a developer type tool where you would open up Vuforia Studio in your browser again, and you would develop with this low to no code solution, right? You can get pretty far with bindings, so you can drag buttons over to actions and then bind them that way. But it's extendable via JavaScript and CSS. So if you have someone with some front end skills, they'd be right at home in it and be able to really push it and show some cool things. And Vuforia Studio is our scalable approach to 3D work instructions based on CAD. And Vuforia Studio is really unique because it connects to ThingWorx. So it has the native IoT integration right behind it to empower it. So you don't have to be an advanced coder to understand how to write these REST API calls and do authentication through cores and all this other stuff. You just leverage ThingWorx as your connector, and then ThingWorx things and properties all just pipe right into Studio without having to do anything. You just click a plus button pretty much. And so with Studio and the integration with ThingWorx, it is the tool that fits all the corner cases you could imagine, right? If someone needs to connect to a manufacturing execution system or like an operator advisor type tool or an NPM or PLM, any of the different letters for manufacturing or servicing, then you can write those custom connections and leverage Studio to do it. And because it's easier to build, the development cycle for these experiences is, days to weeks to maybe a month versus, weeks to months for sure for if you're building something in Unity, then you can still get the benefit of scalability. So to show an example of a Studio experience running, go ahead and play I think it's the Volvo movie. Matt, please. So you could imagine every time that frontline worker hits that green check mark, that's actually sending a data table, sending to a data table, sending a value of completion or who did it at what time. And so you can manually configure that to connect whatever system you'd like. So that's Studio, the kind of scalable enterprise 3D work instruction platform that you could roll whatever you needed to, and then you consume the experiences with Vuforia View. And then last up is Vuforia Engine. And you go to the next slide, please, Matt. And Vuforia Engine is kind of what started it all, right? It is the SDK that you can bring into Unity, or you could use for native development and Android Studio or Xcode. And it's really all the juju that runs the rest of the suite, right? It's the model tracking, it's the image tracking, it's the, what's new actually is area targets. And that allows you to use a point cloud scanner to create a scan of an area. And then you can bring that area target into Unity to leverage as a model, as like a target, right? So you're always aware of where you're at. You're infinitely tracked in the space because you're never outside of the space. So you're always aware of where you're at. And if anyone's got a LiDAR equipped iOS device, I encourage you to go to vuforia.developer.com and check out the area target generator for iOS that uses the LiDAR sensor on the back, and you can create scans with it, and you can immediately test those scans for their accuracy, because it'll give you like this white outline, which is called a guide view, and it'll apply it to the area around you. You can see how accurate it is at tracking. And you get 10 of those as part of just your free developer account. So definitely go play with that. And other news in Vuforia Engine is we just released Vuforia Engine 10. So it's got a whole slew of changes in it, including what I think is going to be really exciting for the entire industry is dynamic motion tracking. So up until now, we've had a car mode and we've had a static and a motion hint, but we've never had a dynamic motion hint, meaning the visual system that's looking for the feature set is also leveraging AI, and we're expecting it to move. And so we're prioritizing that input stream, the RGB input stream, but we're also using AI for like anticipation of movement. And you can see that it's just the tracking from that is insane. I don't know if we're showing the Vuforia 10 video. Matt, let's see what I brought for, is that it? Was that the last of the videos, or did I bring an engine video?
You have one more. It's called, looks like Infinity.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so this is just showing model tracking from Vuforia Engine for like a sales and marketing use case. But I do have more and more innovation groups from all over the world that are using Engine in more industrial use cases. Go ahead and play that video, Matt. So, I mean, if you had resources, or you could use third-party services that know Unity, then that's a great option. And one note about the area targets is for manufacturing specifically, they support up to 300,000 square feet. So you could put your entire manufacturing floor into Unity as an area target, and then your workers, as they walk throughout the entire floor, you could have safety zones, danger zones, waypoint finding. That could all be connected to a manufacturing execution system. So as they get their tasks, wayfinds you to that next work cell, and then starts work instructions from instruct or expert capture, right? So you can see a little bit of the kind of enterprise metaverse that's coming into view here. And I'll end on that. Yeah, thank you so much.
And thank you. Let me point them. I'm trying to get my screens a little bit farther off. There we go. And at this point, we're going to go to Q&A. We've definitely had a few more people filter in as the event has moved on. We've got a couple more people watching on Facebook as well. But honestly, Andrew, if you don't mind actually just staying where you were up here next to me, and Bob, if you don't mind joining me as well, we're going to enter the Q&A portion, which is the live, kind of the live interactive portion of the event. And so the way that this will work, for those of you who haven't been here before, because it looks like we have a bunch of new names in the space that I'm not familiar with, whereas at the beginning of the event, we had a lot of names that I was familiar with. The way this will work is if you're in the room, you will raise your hand. When you raise your hand, I will call on you. At that point, you should be able to unmute your microphone and ask your question, and then remute yourself. And if it's a question specifically for one of the people on the panel, you can direct it to them, or if it's just for anybody, we can give everybody the chance to answer. For those of you who are watching live on Facebook, type your questions into the chat, and we will read them live in the room and give everybody a chance to answer as well. Any questions there? No? I'm going to let that one go. There's no point in asking questions. Do you have questions about how to ask questions? Right. it's that kind of night for me. So with that though, I'm curious who's going to be the brave one that actually asks the first question up here. So I'm going to look for a hand raised in the room.
I have a question actually.
Go ahead.
Can I jump? Is there a jump? I don't know why.
I know if you do backspace flip, you can flip. I'm not sure how to do just plain jump.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Or backslash flip. It's like slash flip.
That's all I needed. That's more than satisfying.
Looks like Tony is our. Hang on a second. I need to sort by raised hands now. Or no, it looks like Aaron might have beaten Tony to a punch. So I'm gonna go with Aaron Dietz first.
Awesome. Hopefully you guys can hear me.
I can hear you.
Perfect. So I guess I can direct this question to both of you, but Andrew, I kind of thought of this as you were going through your presentation, sort of noticing, it seems like I got the vibe from your presentation that a lot of times when you're deploying to some kind of like a HoloLens or some kind of headset device, but I did notice that there was, a tablet in there as well. I guess my question is, when you guys are thinking about how to author some of these content for different hardware, do you really kind of think a lot about, I guess what I'm asking is, are there different things that you have in mind when you're deploying to one device versus another? Or are you deploying like a single experience, hitting publish, and it's just, zooming off to the various hardware for people to be able to use?
Totally. It depends on the tool you're using, right? For Unity development, you have to kind of develop towards your platform from the start. I guess it's the same in Studio too, because when you're creating an experience in Studio, you're choosing either mobile for tablet or 3D eyewear, which supports RealWear, Vuzix, or HoloLens. So in Studio, a lot of the constraints and platform differences are taken care of for you because you're offered functionality via widgets. So if you choose mobile, you have a 2D canvas. That doesn't exist for HoloLens, right? You have 3D labels. And so there's little differences like that are taken care of for you. But for like Unity, then yeah, you'd have to figure all that out and kind of build your UI to match from scratch. For the more solution-centric products like Expert Capture and Instruct, that's all just kind of taken care of. You don't have to think about it. The Vantage app is what runs on mobile right now, and it's Vuforia View on the 3D eyewear. And so they both are differently built for their UIs for the platform, respectfully. Did that answer?
I think so. Yeah, makes sense.
Okay,
Appreciate
cool.
it.
Yeah.
So with that
for ours, we're definitely for any device. You're shooting it out to any device, iOS or Android, and ours are not device or platform.
Yeah, and to take it a little further, I think that's a goal of ours is platform agnosticism, because if you're approaching these manufacturers, you don't want to have to sell them on a whole new technology stack, right? You want to be where they're already at.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely gets to the point too where people don't have access to certain hardware.
Right.
So Tony, you were the next one up. I'm gonna try it, if you don't mind. Put your hand down and unmute your microphone. Tony Lopez.
Yes. Hello. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Thank you very much. Wonderful presentation, great information. I have a question that's more for Oliver, but might also be appropriate for Bob. As a teacher, I try to make it clear that we will be slowly pulling away crutches, learning tools that we use so that the learners can eventually act independently and then work intuitively and creatively. Is the goal of some of the AR products that I saw, particularly the ones from PTC, to always have the heads-up display on, or to train people to eventually not have to use it, or is that completely up to the people who implement it?
Yeah, all three, right? It's a completely use case dependent. I mean, some of the hardware you don't want to wear for more than 3 hours. Some of the batteries don't last more than 3 hours, right? So like the HoloLens specifically, you'd really want to use for high impact, low time on head, right? Driving super complex procedures where you get return on value. And I see it used a lot as a refresher too. I had this steel manufacturing company, and they have this process where they put a new roll of steel on the spindle, and they messed that up, and it would cost them $20,000 worth of scrap and rework. And so now they require everybody to go through an expert capture procedure before they do that, and it's led to a lot lower error rate. And so I think it depends on the application, what the tool's actually doing, because yeah, like you say, I don't think it's not a one size fits all approach.
Bob, I'm really curious to hear your take on this, actually.
Well, I mean, from our standpoint, we feel very strongly about our platform being used to help train workers while on the job. And we've had this done many times with customers, but often had it used also at Harper College and Northwestern, and working with other, now starting to work with other local community colleges and high schools about using Notify to train, to get the information, to get the videos, the pictures, to do the things that they need to do from, using their machine. But then the great thing is they also are sort of teaching themselves and training themselves on how to use Notify. So it's worked out pretty well from that standpoint. And one of the biggest things is having them, the millennials, classroom training, traditional training just doesn't fly with that group. And so on the job, using technology is where it's at. And so had a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, one of my concerns was in that having instructions always available reinforces in me that I don't actually have to learn how to do it. Because there are a lot of things, like if anyone's baked cookies, it takes a lot of time baking cookies before we don't need that recipe in front of us anymore. So it'd be interesting what kind of research or information you all can produce in regards to this, to see what the results could be for people who can handle the job when the system goes down or when they're unable to have the expert available.
Well, and to that point, Tony, actually, this is actually one of the things that I definitely thought about with Bob's presentation and his technologies, and to a certain degree with Andrew's as well. If the point is to teach the person how to do it, that's one thing. If the point is to verify that the task was done and the manufacturing process was completed correctly, yeah, okay, sure, the instructions are still up in front of the user, but ultimately you're not necessarily, once somebody learns a procedure, they're not really doing it for the instruction anymore. They're doing it to get through the checklist to make sure that they actually completed all the tasks. Again, more as an accountability standpoint for the actual manufacturer, as opposed to training for the user. It's still training for the user. They obviously still have the quick reference in front of them, but it's also a matter of they now they're verifying every time they complete the task that they've completed the task. But with that, I'm going to ask Yin.
But I will say, can I add?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
They still they have to learn how to do their job, or they'll never complete their productivity level will go down dramatically, and there will be issues.
I do want to make the point for some of these places that are having crazy turnover, though, right? Like, and they cannot keep the talent around long enough. So having the ability to onboard super rapidly, which it would be a huge benefit of something like the tools we're showing. I think we're not asking someone to not learn the job. We're supplying assistance, and it should be as needed, right? And I think depending on context, some might need it more than others.
Thank you.
Yeah, it also gets back to the concept of training somebody to do something. Like, you're going to train somebody to do something that isn't common. Like, okay, this is a procedure they need to know. Maybe they only do it once every 3 months, but it's one of those things that they just need to know how to do it, and that way they always have the refresher information in front of them too.
Yeah, good point, Matt.
Yen? You want to put your hand down and unmute?
Hi there.
Hello.
Checking my sound's working. Everybody can hear me all right?
Yep. I hear you.
Great, thank you. Thanks so much for the presentation, Andrew and Bob. It's really interesting to see your software in action. I'm a software developer myself, and I also make some training software. This question is mainly for Andrew, and I'm just wondering whether the Vuforia backend or Vuforia as a company has any plans for integration with VR platforms. I know your AR offering is extremely strong. I mean, such impressive stuff that you're showing, but is there any thought about how it might scale into or connect or integrate with VR at all?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I heard one of our product engineers get asked the same question just last week. And his response was funny. He was like, well, you could just put a background around, like make a non-transparent background and Unity. And it's like, well, okay, yeah, but that's not quite there, right? I think for us, our focus is AR, because right now that's first of all, that's what Vuforia was created as from the get-go. And we had VR products in the past as part of Creo and our CAD and Pro Engineer, which became Creo Parametric. They were used to be tools, and I think believe in the 90s. And right now the focus is, I mean, we're not focused on immersive danger training or anything that I think the VR platform excels on. And you can put full holograms in augmented reality. So if you need to fully virtualize equipment, then absolutely. But we're so focused on like the manufacturing and industrial use case that's like live in front of you. And model targeting was such a core component of that we just haven't really looked that way, it seems, I guess, that much, right? We do have some unique opportunities. If you can see our CXC completely in VR, and there's some cool elements there. But as a product support standpoint, I think we're just really focused on AR and delivering as much as we can there.
All right, we have a question from Facebook from Francis that I'm really trying to understand what he's trying to ask. I actually asked him to rephrase it. But I'll read it as it's written, and then I'll I guess try to figure out if you guys can help me try to figure out what he's asking if I don't get it. What he's basically saying: ask people to use total new technology unfamiliar with the target audience, or use develop the technology in a format that is more familiar with the target audience. Which one is better? So I'm guessing he's asking more about like, okay, so for the people who are going to have to use this technology, the workers. I'm assuming a lot of them are not familiar with augmented reality until you hand it to them. And so I guess the question is, is there a training process with getting the, for both of you actually, for both your technologies, is there definitely kind of an onboarding and a training process for the workers to understand how to use the technology, or is the technology itself kind of being developed in such a way that it's so easy for them to use that it's, it's being essentially, I mean, obviously to a certain degree it's being designed with them in mind as the user, but is it really kind of working within their constraints and their limitations? Bob first.
Ours is the latter. I mean, we developed it to be extremely easy for people to use. Now, again, that we all know that everybody, especially in manufacturing, or even again, anywhere you can use ours, where anywhere there's standard operating procedures or processes, tasks. I mean, warehouse distribution. I mean, there's always going to be different levels of workers there and different levels of understanding. But I will say, even the least technical person can understand our software and how to use it pretty quick. That it was developed from like.
Andrew.
Yeah, I just agree with I totally agree with Bob. It's about ease of use and authoring, right? People don't like stuff that's hard to use, and they don't like being tasked to figure out weird space age equipment. I get a couple looks with the HoloLens, but the iPad, of course, none at all. So it really depends on platform, and it depends on the people themselves.
Again, from our own experience with Bundle Air, it's kind of funny sometimes, where you hand off something to somebody and we're like, so what do I have to do? I'm like, well, you just point it. Like, what? Just point it. They're like, no, really, what do I have to do? It's like, just point it, see what you have to do. And as soon as they do, it's like, oh, well, okay, that was easy.
Oh, there's
a lot of times people think it's going to be more complicated than it really is. So that comes up as well.
Yeah, and it's also familiarity, like, and over the long term, like next 3 to 5 years, this is where the industry is going, right? These like live connected solutions, like Notify, that's going to become what takes over, and so people are going to have to adopt it, right? Just to be honest, right? Because it'll just be a standardized part of their workflow.
You won't be able to hire a worker if you don't.
Right.
I think I have another question coming in. So this is a question for Bob. You built, this kind of came to me on a private chat as opposed to on the public chat, but I'll throw it out. So you built Notify to address a certain set of problems within manufacturing. What are the questions you feel people aren't asking that could use addressing via adoption of new tech solutions?
Well, they're not asking, One of the challenges that you have today is getting, I mean, as I said, I mean, everyone's very busy right now. They're down on staff, budgets. Some have, budget issues, obviously. I mean, COVID, presented some issues there. The questions that they're not asking is, how do I find the time, bring in technology that could help me? I'm making excuses because because I'm saying I don't have the time because everyone's busy and I'm down on people. However, some of these technologies can help them, not that we're here to replace people, but can help them do more with less, can help by giving somebody content that they can look at. You don't necessarily have to have people, always accessible to them. Supervisors always in the area. I mean, there's an ability to do more with less. So being able to ask the questions of, how do I get there? How do I spend, some time over the next couple weeks where it's going to make my business better? And I think that being able to step out of it and get out of your own way is the biggest issue in terms of trying to bring on some new technology that can help them.
Sorry, I'm reading a question from Facebook, so give me a second, I'm trying to understand it. I guess this is a good one for both of you, and Bob, I think you just addressed this to a little bit, but with every technology, trades almost every trade, you pick your trade, has its own language, has its own kind of skill, has its own way of talking about things, and when the developer, I guess to a certain degree, are the developers effectively kind of experts in the language of the trade, as opposed to Andrew, actually, I'm going to throw this one a little bit at you afterwards, but I want Bob to answer first because, again, I think I know his answer a little bit. But, it's being a VR/AR expert, you're probably not a manufacturing expert if you're a VR/AR developer. Yeah, I can't imagine there's a whole lot of, really deep augmented reality developers who started in manufacturing. I'm sure there's some.
No, yeah. I barely know what the hell I'm talking about in manufacturing. Mostly it's the last 2 years of being in the industry. Before this, I was a VR/AR developer, right? So I was a Unity and Unreal guy. So you're absolutely right? But what PTC does have are products that, in our history, our legacy products have been focused on manufacturing, right? We've got execution software. We've got connected digital thread for the entire industry, from your 3D design through to execution and everything in between. And so while I don't know anything about it, there is somebody at PTC who does know a lot about it, and has brought that into the product through their knowledge, right?
That's true. I mean, you're not going to find developers. I mean, I don't mean never, but you're not going to find enough developers that understand manufacturing. You have to have people within the company, product people who can help. That said, I personally don't think that, I mean, we built our software to be flexible and adaptable and allow the company to use the nomenclature that they use. So whether it's serial number, part number, I mean, they have the flexibility and ability to change all those. Certain drop downs, they're configurable, and so they're able to use the nomenclature that they use, and we don't have to. We don't want them to just have to use our software the way just our software is used. They have many ways and options to use our software to get as close to possible as to what they're doing today. And that was the point of what we wanted to do. So you don't need to use us in manufacturing. I mean, I wouldn't even consider our software manufacturing software. I mean, we're doing a lot in manufacturing, but we've also doing a lot in compliance and in warehouse distribution and in integration and assembly. So that flexibility is extremely important.
And so I'm going to throw, again, feel free to just I guess, dodge this question a little bit if necessary. But one of the things I want to ask is, it's one of those things that I hadn't really thought of until Bob, you sort of started talking, and you said, a lot of manufacturers, those of us who are not in manufacturing probably often don't, if we think of manufacturing, we think of gigantic factory floors and like huge, big enterprises. But realistically, there are lots of very small, small businesses that are effectively manufacturing. And so I guess on that note, in terms of catering to the smaller businesses, like, as a developer who's developing software, relatively specialized, very feature-rich software, how affordable is it, or how do you make it affordable so that it addresses the whole market, the smaller manufacturers as well as the gigantic conglomerates?
Oh, we made ours. I believe we've made ours very affordable for the small manufacturer. Again, we price in a user model, but bundles of users. So we've got bundles for larger manufacturers and mid-market, but we've also got bundle packages for 10 and under. And our software's much more very budget friendly to get into. And just, again, we tackle a very specific or a few specific things. Now, we can integrate into different things and realware and things like that to be able to do things in different way and capture additional data than if we weren't integrated. But you can certainly use our software and start down a path of data accumulation and collaboration and being able to get people to work more efficiently, very budget friendly. And it was built that way.
So we follow kind of the same methodology, right? Where we have different size packages based on like named users. So it's kind of scaling, and we follow a value-based approach when we're talking to our customers. So usually we're talking about how things are done today and how much that costs, and how, if there's errors or rework, or how long training takes, right? And how much of an impact we can have on those metrics. So in all honesty, that's something that's at scale, right? If you've got 1,000 people that you can shave 10 minutes off of every day, that's a large impact, right? And so we do focus kind of like on a lot of large industry, but we don't want to make anything unapproachable. And so that's why we've got the different sizing and the tools themselves to just be able to be thrown into the mix and used. And that's part of, I think, what makes them appealing to any size company.
All right, so the last question I'll throw at you, and then we'll go out to, kind of back to open networking, so anyone here in the room who doesn't want to raise their hand can ask a question. And this one's just, again, this is kind of getting out of, like, let's get our heads out of manufacturing for a second, just thinking about immersive technology, VR. I'm actually going to throw VR at you guys more so, because we talked a lot about augmented reality today. We haven't talked too much about VR. What's the one thing that you really kind of like to see coming out of, what application of the technology, or just, new feature of the technology in terms of virtual reality? You can add augmented reality as well, that you just haven't seen yet. Like, what's the one that you're excited about that you haven't seen yet, that you probably think is coming at some point, but maybe it's just not there yet? I'm gonna go with Bob first again.
Well, I'm not sure I'm the best person I certainly am not an expert in VR, but in terms of, I certainly see the ability for people to be able to follow procedures, talk through their procedures and their data, have people talk to them, and get audio in terms of from an audio perspective and without having to read. So, the ability to be, to use VR and AR to really be in the job and really be in the task more than just through a tablet. I think that opportunity exists, and I know we've already been talking about, integrating with some of our customers that want to use, the glasses and different things like that. And so, not out there. I'm not sure I'm the best person yet.
I like that. For me, I'm probably there's a couple things I could probably just rant and get all nerdy, but the convergence headset. So I'm like excited about somebody to do that form factor like the Quest 2, but you can do VR or you can do AR on it, right? The Quest 2 is kind of going there a little bit with the API for pass through that's rumored to be coming soon. So I'm interested in how they're, earlier I was saying we're focused on AR. Well, maybe we'll support the Quest if that AR track goes further enough, right? And then the Apple headset that's rumored. I'm excited about all that stuff. I think it's really cool. What I'm really excited about is that and I'm swinging back to AR because I started as VR. I love VR, but I just love the everyday use case of AR, and I'm really interested to see that consumer use case break through, right? Like I think everyone freaking talks about Pokemon Go, but the new Snapchat spectacles have shown some really cool clips. There's a Twitter person named Matthew Helberg, or he's not a Twitter person. That's just how I know him.
He's a YouTuber, actually.
He's a YouTuber. There you go. Whatever his channel is to you, he's awesome. And he built this AR skateboarding kind of game where you draw and interact with this thing while you can skateboard because the form factor is so small. So I'm just really excited to see the technology progress, and it's going to keep proving itself. And I started believing this stuff in 2014, and I still today see articles about how VR is it's failing like a rich white kid or something like that, and it's like it's really not. People like to write these clickbait articles, but VR has been given a lot of chances, but it's been given a lot of chances because it is providing value and it's being usable, and not just for games, even though that's where it's really fun.
Well, I mean, to speak about that too, that's one of the things, again, augmented reality, we talk about, this is not new technology.
No.
This has been around, the earliest really common use case for augmented reality that I kind of come back to all the time is the heads-up display in a jet fighter that the Navy's been using since the 60s, Army and Navy, US Army and Navy have been using since the 60s. Like, that is augmented reality. You're tagging your visual display, what you can see in reality with digital or data, with
Right.
And the difference being, obviously, a jet fighter has a pretty big form factor that it can carry enough computing power to do that. Whereas it's only recently that we've had the ability with smartphones to carry that kind of computing power in our pocket.
Right.
But even then, mobile devices were doing augmented reality back in 2008, 2009. Like, sure, whatever. The smartphone,
Right.
the iPhone came out in 2007, and the first, I want to say one of the earlier augmented reality applications, Layer, was out in 2009. Now,
right.
I will go with it was not the best user experience. It had its issues. It was glitchy, but it,
That's like
it
a
did
GPS
function.
Really, yeah.
But it functioned. I mean, it
Yeah.
had a really bad version of SLAM, kind of, or at least image recognition.
It was cool.
But that's the thing. Like, this technology is going to evolve, and we talk about, oh yeah, that's not that long ago. That's
Right.
only 12 years ago. And on top of that, like, the use cases, it's really cool to see use cases. So you mentioned the Quest and kind of merging now the difference between virtual reality and the pass-through cameras for augmented reality. A year and a half ago, I met with a game developer who, they realized that the Quest, as soon as the Quest came out, it had those cameras on it that allowed you to kind of map your space. Mm-hmm. And so they developed a game that worked. It basically kind of broke the algorithm of the Oculus, and it used that ability of basically activating the pass-through camera as part of the game, which is something that I'm pretty sure they were the first ones to really think of using that. But the fact that it's like, okay, well, Oculus built this feature in kind of as a safety factor and kind of just to help you do the setup. I don't think they were expecting the game developers to actually activate this pass-through camera as part of the game experience.
Right.
But within almost a month of them releasing it, someone had done it. And so it's really cool, and that's honestly, when I talk about augmented reality, again, I'm an augmented reality developer. I've seen 100,000 different use cases. The stuff that really excites me is what haven't I thought of yet that someone's going to throw at me, especially when I hand them the technology. Like, hand someone else the ability to create this stuff. What are they going to come up with that I haven't thought of?
Yeah, I saw this use case for OpenCV, and this is like something you think you thought of body tracking use cases, and it was simple as hell. It was a camera in an old person's home, and it was watching for falls. That was it. That was it. It was just body tracking, and if the person would fall on the ground and stay on the ground for long enough, then kind of like the Apple Watch, it would cue an action and a trigger for a response. And it's just so simple, but it's such a perfect application of body tracking, right? And it might be Orwellian, depending on how implemented, but it's better than wearing something if that you have to keep batteries in it and etc. I don't know.
All right. Well, with that, I'm gonna end the actual formal kind of Q&A presentation mode at this point, and I'm gonna let us get back to some open networking. So thank you again to our presenters, Bob Wise and Andrew London. I know I was gonna say Andrew, you obviously like to go by Andrew, but Oliver, Andrew, just doesn't matter. Andrew London.
Yeah, I just want to make it as confusing as possible, but
That
yeah,
works.
I usually go by Andrew. Yeah.
Awesome. So our upcoming events, the next couple of months, August is manufacturing, obviously September is hospitality, and at the September event, we will officially announce the topics for the remaining 3 months of the year. But hospitality is the next one that we'll be talking about. That'll be on September 9th. Is it September 9th?
Wait, nope, that's wrong. It's September 1st.
That's incorrect.
I'm sorry. Yep. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah, sorry.
So it'll be September 1st. Okay. I was going to say, I didn't think September 9th was a Wednesday, first of all. But ignore the slide that you have in front of you. But on the first Wednesday in September, we will be talking about hospitality. That part is accurate. And with that, we hope you can join us. We'll obviously keep our audience and all of our followers apprised of whether or not we're going to have any opportunity to get back to in person. Or I shouldn't say, I will say when we get back to in person, there will still always be a hybrid component. So we will always have some sort of virtual space taking place. We will have obviously continue doing the streaming. Again, you can always find the current information at vrarchicago.com. I know we don't keep I'm not sure how accurate we keep our Facebook page, but the website is always up to date in terms of what's going on and the latest information. Again, thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Bob. For those who are watching this on Facebook now or in the future, and for those in the room, if you do want to connect with these folks directly, there are profiles on the webpage at vrarchicago.com that tell you how to get in touch with people. But with that, once again, thank you all, and we look forward to seeing you next time. I'm going to shut off the live stream in about 3 or 4 minutes, but for right now, for those of you in the room, just a little bit update of what I'm going to do. I'm going to make all your chairs go away right now. And as soon as I do that, we can all dance up here. But shortly after that, the next thing I'm going to do is I will turn on, can I turn on private volumes? There we go, private volumes. So you'll see circles on the floor. If you are standing in a circle, you will only be able to talk to the people who are within the circle. That'll help us with the networking so that we can all have different conversations or multiple conversations going. Obviously, if we all just want to stand in the main area, we can do that as well, but the private volumes are there if you do want to have a little bit of a side conversation or a private conversation with somebody. So you'll see, again, in just a moment, I'm going to turn the circles on the floor. Once that's on, you will only be able to hear and speak to the people who are in the circle with you. So if you do want to talk to other people, make sure that you're closer to them. But again, thank you again, everybody. We look forward to seeing you next month, and have a great evening. Private volumes are going on right now. And thanks again, Facebook audience. I will be shutting off the stream in just a few moments. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for participating. We look forward to seeing you next time.